The paper I'll be presenting today is a master's thesis written by Dr. Sally P. Samson called Yuraq, An Introduction to Writing. I specifically chose this paper because I participate in Yuraq and I'm also a Yupik language instructor. So I was trying to basically figure out, is there a way to combine these two? How does that look? Is it effective? So a quick overview of what we'll be covering. First, we'll go over what is Yuraq. After that, we'll kind of go into what a classroom setting that Dr. Sampson was teaching in, what language backgrounds the students were coming from. We'll go over the summarized versions of the questions asked by Dr. Sampson, and then after that, explaining what 6+1 traits of writing and how Yuraq factors into this. So she mentioned 6+1 quite a bit. So we'll go over what that is. Lastly, how Yuraq was implemented in the classroom, and then showing an example song with the results and summary after. So, what is Yuraq? It's basically a Yupik and Chupik cultural and spiritual way of expression involving singing, dancing, drumming. Many communities participate in it, with children often being active in it. So, in this picture, you can see a wide range of ages from elders to children. You can see me down in the lower left corner. So, this is my community that I'm participating in Yuraq with. And another important aspect is that song lyrics are often in the native language. One of the quotes from her dissertation states, "There is more to Yuraq than just dancing for students. The students learn to say and pronounce words that they do not normally use in everyday speech. They do not understand what they mean. Students are also telling a great story, but they do not know that the story is about, but they can guess what that story is about by the gestures of the dance. As a result, what the students learn is Yuraq stays in Yuraq, and they do not know how to extract that knowledge and apply it to other areas." So she's basically noticing that a lot of kids are already involved in Yuraq and are familiar with it and are familiar with the language aspects of it, but they might not necessarily know what those language aspects mean, what they translate to. And so she was trying to focus on something that is already connected to them and then find a way to expand upon that to improve their literacy, improve their understanding of Yupik. So, some background on the classroom setting. She was teaching in a kindergarten classroom at Yugtun and Yugtun, which is a Yupik immersion school in Bethel. Some of the students come from a wide variety of language proficiencies, from not hearing the language at all at home to hearing older members of the household speak it, but not necessarily always to them. So, you had some students too that maybe were more fluent and could actually speak, but you just had a wide range of different experience levels. So, some of the questions summarized: how can Yupik dancing help develop writing skills for Yupik immersion kindergarten students? Also, how will the implementation of 6+1 traits of writing combined with Yuraq impact students' ability to learn to write Yugtun and Yupik? And lastly, how will this affect the students' overall development of their literacy skills? One of the quotes that we've kind of gone over this a lot and it's been reinforced a lot in our classroom, and I think is also another important aspect driving this paper, is that reading should concentrate on comprehension and connect to the students' natural lives. According to Curtin and Dahlberg, concentrating on phonics and grammar rules will not work for second language learners. So she included this in her dissertation, and I think it's just a really important aspect because she was trying to get away from strictly teaching grammar rules and finding another avenue. So going over 6+1 traits of writing, I'll go over the trait names as well as the description. So first we have ideas, which are the main theme, details, heart of the message. We have organization, which is basically how the writing is structured. Is it able to be followed? Voice, can they hear the writer's voice? Is there personality? Word choice, are you able to paint a picture in the reader's mind? Sentence fluency, is the writing flow? Is it free of awkward patterns, conventions, spelling, punctuation, grammar, all that good stuff? And lastly, this is the +1, which is presentation, how the finished product is laid out. What's the appearance? And so she took that same table and made her own table to show how Yuraq would be depicted with the 6+1. So first we have ideas, which is the main story behind Yuraq. So every Yuraq song has a certain storytelling aspect to it. What's organization? So how the story is laid out. After that, voice, how the story is portrayed through gestures, expression, feeling showing through movements and face. So Yuraq can be very expressive with body movements, facial expressions, so on and so forth. After that, word choice, gestures, movements, paint pictures, or words that tell a story. So, a kayaking motion would be a paddling motion with hands, for example. Sentence fluency, how telling of the story through the song and gestures flow well through the storyline. Conventions, drummer tells dancers when to take a break or rest. And then lastly, presentation, how the story is put together through drumming, singing, dancing. So this is a quick outline of how, Yuraq was implemented on a day-to-day in a class structure. So she started out with Yuraq. After that was review the vocabulary words using posters or PowerPoint, asking comprehension questions at the same time, such as who went berry picking, what was the gesture for kayaking, etc. Write the song on chart paper or read the chart and have students point to letters or words on the chart paper, and then ending it with a kind of a summary activity such as journal writing, drawing, or role playing. So here's an example song. You have the Yupik on the left, the English on the right, and they're pretty simple. I mean, my grandmother went out taking a step, picking berries. What's nice about this structure, though, is it allowed the students to kind of co-create these stories. So they could pick any family member and learn those familial terms through this story and through this dance and through this song. And they could also pick any verb. So any verb that associates with that specific family member, they might not know how to say it in Yupik, and they might say, "Oh, I want to say that my grandpa is hunting," and so that can be implemented into the song, and basically just allow this full range of creativity as well as storytelling that the students were participating in. And then, so results in summary, students were actively engaged in learning writing because they were excited each day to participate in Yuraq, and at times the students were the ones to start. Combining 6+1 traits of writing and traditional cultural practices is effective for target language learning. One of the quotes from her dissertation states, "I had learned that the best way to introduce writing is to start from the known to the unknown. The students knew Yuraq. It was fun. There was a lot of movement. What they did not know was that Yuraq is a story told by a form of dance, drama, singing, and rhythm." It's also just a great stress reliever for many who participate in it. Dr. Samson had stated it kind of allowed introducing writing to become a lot easier, which is something that might have been a lot more intimidating, especially for students at this age. And then later on, teachers that these students had after kindergarten had reported to her that these students were high in writing, reading, and second language skills in Yupik. And then finally, I think a really important quote that I want to end off of is this, which states, "Ever since I can remember and over my 12 years of teaching, my teachers and parents had oftentimes told me and reminded me that my way of thinking, which is grounded in my culture and tradition, is backward and does not belong in the education field. However, through this research, I found that one part of my culture, which is Yuraq, can be used to reinforce what is known about emergent literacy, second language learning, and multiliteracy." So I think this is a really important aspect because it's kind of showing that shift in instruction where we're having more and more people that come from those cultures that grew up speaking those languages that are now teaching it, and they're able to bring in their own perspectives and their own values into that teaching space, which absolutely has massive impacts on the fluency and making those connections and just making it all around easier for language revitalization. So Guyana, here's the link to the dissertation if you want to read it in full. There's a lot more information in there that I could not cover in this video, but I appreciate you listening.